we told you survive a scare Saturday night, and then you get, well, unfortunately, you get scared and killed Sunday morning. London, Vikings, Saints, black helmets looking fantastic with the right color rush unis. I really ended up loving the uniform combination. Unfortunately, even though they looked good, and I'm hoping they felt good, the Saints did not necessarily play good as they fall 28-25 to the Minnesota Vikings. Where's the best starting spot for this game? I mean, there's a few things that you could choose from, right? Obviously, how the field goals went down at the end of the game is pure insanity.
Oh.
To knock in a 60-yarder,
bomb it,
and then to just a few seconds later be lined up again from 61, kicks that are near impossible to make. Just look at the history of kickers attempting these things, and then
would have been the first ever to make two 60-plus yard field goals in the same game.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I'd never even considered that, but I just assume that. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Assume that to be true. And then it would have been one thing if you would have come out and you just missed it, right? Like if you just hook it, that's normal. Try to put extra leg on it, like that makes sense. But to have that ball fly through the air, shave the inside of the goalpost, and then double doink off the crossbar and fall out as opposed to over. I mean, we are talking about a gust of wind. We are talking about the ball being 6 inches one direction or the other. Like the margins by which these games are decided sometimes. Even in a game where you are not at your best, it's just absolutely brutal to see. And in the end, you lose 28-25.
Here's my problem with the game, and it started early. And I tweeted this out, and I fully believe it. You signed Andy Dalton for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis coming off injury. You weren't quite sure how he would react. Now it's a different injury. But you signed Andy Dalton because this was his 149th start in the NFL.
Yeah.
You didn't keep Ian Book. Okay, now Ian Book was not good in the preseason, but you drafted him in the 4th round. You didn't keep him. You didn't draft a quarterback this year in the draft when there was plenty of quality quarterbacks in the later rounds, right? We saw some of the guys that potentially could have gone 1st, 2nd round go in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Yeah.
You signed him because of the 149th career start that he got in this game. Early in the game, you were treating him like it was his first career start. You were run, pass. Run, pass. Run, short pass, and the flats to the tight end, run. It's like, no. Okay, if you're going to sign Andy Dalton, everything's up. There's not a blitz that he's not seen. There's not a coverage that he has not seen. There's not a route concept that he can't tell you every aspect of it. There's nothing that Andy Dalton has not seen on a professional football field. You realized that, but you realized it too late, in my opinion. Andy Dalton went out there and played well.
Yeah,
I mean, 20 of 28, 236, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I thought he was accurate. I thought he did a nice job of leading the offense. And really, when you were struggling to run the ball until Murray came in, Mark Ingram, 10 for 30. Taysom had his plays, but when Latavius Murray came in, that's when kind of the running game went up a notch. But Andy Dalton went out there, and I thought he was a really efficient quarterback. But you got to give him the full arsenal of plays, and they did. I think it was just a little too late. This is the best the offense has looked. I mean, let's make no mistake about it. This is the best game that the offense has put together this year. So for me,
which kind of does show you just how.
I mean, it does.
Poor you've been, but you weren't bad.
And he spread the ball around. Like you complete 20 balls. Olave had 4, Callaway had 3, Troutman had 3, Johnson had 3, Trey had 1, Ingram had 3, Murray had 1, Landry had 2. So that's a nice job of a quarterback doing what? Reading the defense, throwing the ball where it's supposed to go. Again, I just wanted the Saints to do this quicker in the game. Why are we treating Andy Dalton, who has almost 150 starts in the NFL, like he was Ian Book last year when he got the spot start? We shouldn't have, but you did.
Coaching, game planning, right? I mean, as you emerge from the Sean Payton era, we now have a quarter of season 2 breakdown, Jake, and the returns are not good. Both them, Pete Carmichael finding success with this office and Dennis Allen finding success with this team overall. Now, Allen's still doing a very good job defensively because the defense is still been really good for the most part. I mean, now Jets cooked Marshawn Lattimore yesterday, but again, I don't know who is going to stop.
Slay's the only one that's had any success, and some of that was on Captain Kirk for some of those passes. Slay from Philly is the only one that's really had success. Jets has been cooking everybody. I get it. How's he so damn smooth, though?
It's that, I don't know, man. That route running is a sight to behold. The quarterbacks can never tell what he's actually about to do. I mean, we're talking not just like beating Lattimore, but we're like the separation that he was getting, which is one of the reasons why a player like Chris Olave is so exciting, because he does it in the same manner. Obviously, he too, like Jets, has elite speed and everything, but what separates those guys is their natural knack for route running, the ability to create separation. Chris Olave would almost be in the NFL lead right now for receiving yards if he had caught a couple of those, maybe even one of those deep balls. So Olave, a bright spot amongst the bad there for the New Orleans Saints. But yeah, man, I mean, the stat that blew my mind walking in the office today that I read, that Jeff Duncan thing, dude, because Dennis Allen already has so much to prove. He has so much history working against him to do a quarter of the season to lead the NFL in both penalties and turnovers. Yeah. That's brutal, and that's a very poor reflection of, it's a bad start.
Yeah,
it's a poor reflection of him. And you can hand wave it away and say, oh, well, this is that, or the refs are this or that, and we can actually talk about that. But But the facts are the facts, and you're only going to be judged based on those facts.
Yeah, the penalty stuff, that does have to get cleaned up, because there's some that we certainly can have some conversation about, and this is from somebody on the outside looking in. We got to have a real talk about some of those calls. But it's the combination of the turnovers and the penalties. You look like an undisciplined football team, and you're a veteran team, and you have all this leadership, because we've seen this leadership really thrive on the field. But what is missing? How are these things happening? Now, look, and some of your vets are getting these penalties. Lattimore wasn't pass interference. Tyron, that's certainly not hands to the face. I mean, that might have been the worst call of the game. And so those are the things that are frustrating if you're a Saints fan. Why does that continue to get called? I don't have that answer for you. I asked the same thing. In fact, I saw someone who used to play for the Carolina Panthers, right? It's look, I was in the NFC South, and I'm not a Saints fan by any means. Kind of don't like them, but come on, man.
Yeah.
So, I understand that portion of it. And if I'm looking for, something to take from this game, I will say the offense and the rhythm that they got into after they kind of took the bumpers off of it and let them just go out there and try to be an actual offense, that to me can win football games. Now,
especially with that defense.
I'm not sitting here just because Andy Dalton looked like he was in control of this offense the way Jameis is not yet this year.
Yeah.
You only look for a team that can get after the quarterback. You only took 2 sacks. You figured out some things protection wise as well, and you saw Andy get the offensive line. He was barking at them, getting them in the right protection. I don't know what happens when Jameis comes back and when he's ready to go. There's things that you can like about Jameis, but the offense just looked like it was in the best rhythm it's been in so far this year. And I think we have enough sample size to say that this wasn't because it's just too early in the season, let Jameis go out there and continue. I just think that you've got to move forward with Andy until he proves that he cannot handle being in charge of the offense, because I saw a quarterback that looked like he was more comfortable than Jameis has at any point in this year.
Should Andy Dalton start next Sunday for the New Orleans Saints? Who do the Saints have next week?
Seahawks.
That's right, Geno Smith, who looks pretty good.
Geno's the one out there cooking.
Geno looks good, dude. Geno is outperforming Russell Wilson right now, which is just a delicious, wonderful irony, as Denver has committed $250 million to Russ, and Geno was basically viewed like, like leftover meatloaf or something, right? Nobody was too excited about Geno Smith entering this season. But he's been great. Before the season, if you would have told me, we did kind of joke about it, but okay, Seahawks or Geno, easy dub. Right now, not so much, because you look bad and they look actually pretty good. What gives you the best chance of winning? Is it Jameis Winston or is it Andy Dalton?
I think it's Andy Dalton right now, because, okay, here's the reason why I would go with Andy Dalton. He looks like he's more in control of the offense, as I said last break. Now, his ceiling is not going to be as high as Jameis. Okay? There's some throws that Jameis can make, certainly. Now, when he's fully healthy, we've talked about that. But when you have a defense that is as good as the defense that you have, you want the more consistent quarterback. You want the guy that's probably going to take care of the football better. You want the guy that's going to be efficient within the offense because your defense is going to do its part. They have shown they will do their part.
Yep.
So you don't need to try to be Superman at times out there offensively and take some unneeded chances. I just think within what the team structure is, Andy's going to be able to go out there and just be more efficient than Jameis is. Can he make some of the plays? Maybe not. But he also can take care of the football. And we saw just how many receivers he threw to. He gets everyone involved in the game plan as well. So I think the team dynamics tell me that Andy Dalton needs to be the starter for this week in Seattle. Or against Seattle. It's at home.
I mean, it's tough to argue against it. He did look better in the action that we saw. I think the still great unknown with Jameis is simply it's the injury factor. How much of these struggles were injury related, but even that, I think Jake kind of does it kind of helps the question to resolve itself, right? Okay, well, if he is still hurt and if that's what's plaguing him, well, then give him more time and let him try to get more healthy if you still think that he is the better option at quarterback. Like, regardless, even if you still think that Jameis should be the guy, the performance is not enough to warrant the extra risk of putting him out there if his body's not better. So, yeah, I mean, I think even though it hurts my heart to say, because I desperately believe in Jameis Winston, and I think he could still be that guy. It's hard to say that, like you said, in the context of this team and with Jameis's body going through what it's going through right now, it is hard to say that you would want him to start.
And Minnesota is the 12th best scoring defense in the NFL, so a little bit better than middle of the road. So it's not like you went out there and you played against the Lions or the Seahawks or my Bush League Bolts or Commanders that are giving up 4 touchdowns a game. I mean, Minnesota is somebody that gives up, I think, 19.5 points per game. So, and you went out there and you looked efficient against that defense. Let's see what you can do against Seattle.
This? Stop fumbling the ball.
Yes.
How about that? Stop fumbling the ball. It's pathetic. It's the NFL. Get it fixed.